Welcome to episode number 2 of the AVA Movement podcast, a show about all things Angels and Airwaves, To the Stars, and Tom DeLonge. My name is Adam Barnard, and returning with me from our debut episode is musician and AVA superfan Stephen Christie. On today's show, we're going to discuss Angels and Airwaves' new single, Kiss and Tell, as well as what we've seen coming out of their first live shows back in many, many years. We're also going to give an update on the AVA Movement's new project, Fragments and Fictions, and we're going to debut a new song from that upcoming album. But before we jump into all this great stuff, how you doing, Stephen? Welcome back.
Hey, yeah, I'm good. I'm loving this influx of new Angels and Airwaves content. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, we were in a bit of a desert there for a couple years. You know, we get the EP sometimes a year later than we planned, like with the acoustic EP, and we get the sense that Tom is still interested in music. He's recording music, he's talking about music, he's posting about music, but I mean, pretty much since, I guess, the summer, like as soon as they started rehearsing for the tour and teasing Kiss and Tell and making the music videos, it's just been like standing under a waterfall of content. And you know, with AVA having such a large and passionate audience, whenever they play a show, 10 people will go with their cameras and record the show and post the videos online. So for the people around the world or the people who aren't able to make it to the shows, we kind of get to live vicariously through these people and see what the band sounds like again on stage and what they look like. I mean, it's been so long. It's been 7 years. I think the last time they played live was Reading and Leeds in 2012. 2012. And We're now in 2019.
Yeah, it's crazy. They sound great, which is like, for the first time in 7 years, you wouldn't. They're not human, man. They're not human.
Well, I mean, I definitely think there was a feeling that, okay, maybe Tom's just doing this in an arbitrary sense. He's really not interested in touring. He's not going to put his heart into it, or maybe just like we've even talked about this, maybe he's just not the best live vocalist. Maybe like when he's in a studio, that's where he's comfortable, and on stage there's a level of anxiety or, you know, intoxication that kind of lends itself to a more impressionistic performance and not something that sounds pitch perfect. But like, I'm happy to realize that the band is probably sounding better than they've ever sounded in a live sense.
Oh yeah, they definitely sound great right now. It comes with every live musician. I mean, if you're a live musician, you know that when you get on stage, there's a whole bundle of nerves. And I just said he's not human, but he's human like everyone else. So
yeah, I guess I'll say what surprised you the most, or what are you most excited about from the videos you've seen of their live show? I mean, whether it's the set list or how they're sounding or the way they're staging the show, I'm just curious what your takeaways are. Because I mean, you know, you're a musician, you've played live a lot, and you followed this band for a while.
I think just the overall production of the shows, I kind of expected them to be a little stripped back, sort of like, hey, we're back, let's just start this up slowly again. But they really went full on with the production. I noticed just today, and I I don't know why it took me this long to notice, but they, for each sort of like era of the band, they have like a set piece on stage. Have you noticed that?
Really?
Yeah. They have
specifically what?
They have the white flags from I Empire.
Oh, yeah, and like the love banner in the background. And
yeah. I haven't picked up on anything from We Don't Need to Whisper.
I think there's only been 2 songs on the set list from We Don't Need to Whisper. Like Do It For Me Now, and The Adventure. And so I guess at this point, if you think about it, they have a lot of music out. Like between the EPs, the Dreamwalker, the 2 Love albums, you know, the remixes or the score piece, like they play Diary as their intro, I Empire, We Don't Need a Whisper. I mean, there's a lot of material in there right now.
I was quite surprised they're playing some of the stuff from the EPs. I wasn't sure if they would, and I'm happy they are. But yeah, I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Chasing Shadows EP. I was really pulling for Voyager to be on the set list. It's not so far as I'm aware. They haven't played it yet. They do play Overload either as the first or second song, and I think it's a really nice segue. You know, I've watched way too many of these videos. Sometimes someone will upload a whole hour-long block, and I will watch it, so I'll kind of get the feel, you know, the flow of the energy of the show. I feel like Overload just like, you know, punches you in the chest right away and gets things moving.
Amazing, yeah. I haven't watched full-length videos yet, but no, that's cool.
So right now on the set list, I'm just reading out what they did at the 15th, the show on the 15th, so it was very recently. They had Diary, Surrender, Overload, It Hurts, Everything's Magic, Paralyzed, Moon is My Witness, Anxiety, The Wolfpack, Kiss with a Spell, Rebel Girl, The Adventure, the acoustic Tom and Alon iteration of Anomaly. Then you have Tom's medley, Hallucinations, Young London, Breathe, Kiss and Tell, Do It For Me Now, and Heaven. I think this is pretty much a full list of the stuff they've played. The only thing they seem to really tweak, or Tom seems to tweak even potentially on the spot, is his acoustic medley. Typically it's like I Miss You, There Is, and Aliens Exist. I know he's thrown in Reckless Abandon and surprisingly Wishing Well in recent shows as well, which is cool. I mean, for his acoustic medley, he has a massive catalog to pull from. I think he has the right to play the songs he wrote. So it's seemingly endless potential there.
Yeah, and it seems quite, I can't really tell what's going on from the Blink guys, but they seem quite happy about it, which is nice. I would have thought there would maybe be a little bit of resentment for it or a little bit of backlash, but I mean, they are his songs, so it makes sense.
Was there any song that you wanted to see them play that they haven't played yet, as far as we're aware?
I mean, I think it's a pretty good set list. It's not a greatest hit set list, which is kind of what I expected them to come back to, but they really have pulled out a couple of ones that are quite surprising. Moon is My Witness, that's quite a surprising one. Maybe Call to Arms. I really would like them to play Call to Arms, yeah.
You're totally right about it not being a greatest hits thing, because in that case you would probably hear like Secret Crowds or Call to Arms, like you said. I'm really surprised Tunnels isn't on the set list, knowing how personal it is. Maybe that's exactly the reason why it's not on the set list. But I know Tom and Alon have said it's like their favorite composition that they've worked on together. And so, given the fact that the last time the band toured was 2 years before the Dreamwalker came out, I was kind of hoping this would be a quasi Dreamwalker tour. That was my secret hope. I guess it's somewhere on the spectrum of being Dreamwalker centric. Usually have, Wolfpack, Kiss with a Spell, Anomaly, and Paralyzed in there. Songs like Tremors or Tunnels or Teenagers and Rituals just have so much energy and spirit. I really would like to see them on the set list at some point. And also, maybe they'll appear on the December tour, because the band's going to finish up this promo tour in early October, and then they're going to take a break. I think Tom's going to go off and do his movie in that break. But if he doesn't, probably just do more music or something. And then they come back in December and start playing more shows that they haven't even fully announced them yet. There's a lot of placeholders in the dates. This is a lot of touring for a guy who didn't want to tour for a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot of touring. It is all in America, so I mean, at least it's not easy touring, but it's a lot easier than having to do a worldwide tour. But yeah, it's a lot of dates for a band to just come back after 7 years and be like, yeah, here's maybe 40 dates. It's a lot.
And it's only really based off 2 singles of work. Like, again, this isn't billed as a Dreamwalker tour or Chasing Shadows or Secret Machines tour, or even really an anniversary tour. It just seems like the band wants to test the waters and get back out there and play a selection of their discography. And as far as I'm aware, the response has been really good. Everyone who I've read about going seems to really appreciate the extra craftsmanship that's being put in these shows, and also seems to point out that the band has been having a lot of fun too.
I think they have chose the right time to come back. They seem to have managed to time it really, really well. For some reason, everyone is really aching for some new Tom DeLonge music, and he's just, like I say, he's done it at the right time. Everyone's excited about it. He's releasing new music. He's touring, and it's maybe bringing a lot of older fans back.
Yeah, I think, again, the key here is that it's not half-assed. I mean, as much as I'm still going to be forever bitter that there was never a Dreamwalker tour or a tour after he released one of his EPs, we also got to consider he was very, very busy with side ventures, not just to the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, but developing a lot of movies and novels and other properties. And if at some point someone had forced him to tour, it might have been half-assed, or it might have been something that was just done for a month and then there was really no point. There wasn't a build-up. There wasn't it didn't revolve around an event or feeling like it was going anywhere. It was just an arbitrary live performance. in some ways, I'm grateful that he was able to kind of wrap up his tenure at To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science as the interim CEO and do all the other things he wanted to do, and then be able to, come back to the stage because he really, really wants to. And also because this is ramping up to the album release. As far as we're aware, they're in talks for doing an Australian or European tour, or at least some various tour dates or festivals next year. And then, ostensibly when the album comes out later in the year, they'll probably do a proper tour for whatever the album is called, and it will be billed as a tour for that album. They're on Rise Records, so they're going to have the support of a big record label. I think this is just kind of like the warm-up round to where the band might go.
Yeah, I actually think I think it's great that they're doing a proper release this time around. Like you say, the Dreamwalker half-assed maybe isn't the word I would describe it. They definitely put out...
For the album itself, you mean? Or
oh no, the whole release, maybe the whole release. They did the music right, and they did the packaging right, and the promotion right. That was all right. And then I think it was just the aftermath of it kind of just... It didn't even go downhill. It just took a nosedive. It was like, okay, this album doesn't really matter anymore. Let's do some books. Yeah. Let's do some movies, which is fine. I'm glad they're doing this one properly. I think Rise Records is probably the big kick up the ass that they needed.
Yeah. It'll be harder to back down from touring or big commitments if a record label is... if you are part of a record label's business plan, and that's just simple accountability. Like, I know Tom does his best work when he's allowed to be spontaneous, but sometimes that can be a double-edged sword and kind of get him into procrastinating things or overburdening himself to the point that he has to delay stuff. I feel like they've done pretty much everything right so far, and I'm completely giddy that we're only at the start of things. Like, I'm completely convinced that we've just seen the first 10 or 20% of what they're gonna do with film or music or touring or whatever. So I'm all here for it, man.
Yeah, me too.
So let's go ahead and move on to the new single, Kiss and Tell. So that was Kiss and Tell, the Angels and Airwaves single released at the end of August. This one was a little bit different than what I expected, given that we had seen a small clip of it in the 2019 AVA tour promo video that came out on the Rise record channel. We heard a bit of the intro synth, and it sounded kind of like everyone compared it to Stranger Things, and it didn't feel like it was going to turn into as big of a soaring rock song with these like really, really dirty sounding guitars and big drums. And I also expected it to be more single friendly, and it's not. Like if Rebel Girl was conventional and classic Angels and Airwaves and very radio friendly, Kiss and Tell is kind of the boxcar racer type experimentation with structure, tone, and lyrics, and the sonics I think are all over the place, but in a way that actually kind of works. Anyhow, that's just my take on it. What are your initial thoughts when you heard this song for the first or second time?
Yeah, so when it first came out, I remember the teaser, and I remember it being, the synth at the beginning. You don't know where it's going to go from there, but I think people started to piece it together that he had done demos on Instagram, and they really started to fit, and it turned out to actually be the actual song. Personally, I think Rebel Girl is a stronger song.
Okay.
Not to discredit Kiss and Tell. I think Kiss and Tell is a fantastic rock song. The way that I kind of envisioned this band going was the style of Rebel Girl. And it's not disappointing to hear Kiss and Tell. It's actually quite interesting to hear how different the two songs are, and maybe what is going to fit in between that, or if anything is actually going to stretch out any further. I kind of feel like the choruses and the verses are too different to each other, different styles of music. I did read a comment on Facebook when it first came out, and it helped me realize it was like 3 different songs in about 4 minutes. I don't know if anyone else hears that. That's maybe just me, and like I say, it's not by any means a bad song, but I do definitely hear, like, at the beginning it is this sort of like synth ambient, they're really building up to something, and then it goes into the chorus, and the chorus is this heavy, really guitar heavy, big chorus, and then the verses themselves, they drop right back down, and it's like it's Rebel Girl again.
Yeah. Punctuated by those guitar intros and reintros with that really, really like grunge guitar that just sounds massive.
It does sound massive, and it's mixed really well, and I think that's the reason it works really well, is because it's mixed that way. But like I say, it does kind of feel like 3 different songs, which is maybe the style that they were going for. Maybe they do just want to, catch people by surprise, which is, it's great. I actually like that they're experimenting so much.
I guess the best comparison in Tom's discography that comes to mind for me is All Systems Go on the Boxcar record.
Oh,
because
right.
you have sometimes these like really twangy guitars, and then you'll have a massive intro. Then you'll have a verse with like the drum has like one mic on it and it sounds all out of phase, and the guitars are really quiet. And then as soon as the chorus hits, it's like a song from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket or Enema. And I think Tom has a fascination with blending verses and choruses together that you wouldn't necessarily think to blend together, but it kind of adds these massive dynamics to the song. So it's like, it is like being on a roller coaster. You're yanked and pushed and dropped, and then it's calm for a few minutes, and then it goes up again, and then it ends with a bang. Like, I think the outro, the stuff with the gang vocals over the drums, and then it all cuts out and Tom just says, go. And like, it's so manic. Like, the song is manic, but part of the reason I think it works is because of the story it's telling. At least from what I can see from the lyrics, it's something that's very personal and very steeped in this like self-discovery, but also like desperation. And so if the song was just manic for the sake of being manic, maybe I wouldn't buy it as much, but I think Tom's lyrics and his vocals glue together all these weird parts that are patched together.
Yeah, I kind of agree, actually. I think there's a song that came out recently by the 1975 called People, and I kind of feel like that it's quite a punk song. It's actually a very punk song compared to everything else they've ever done, and I feel like that's punk for the sake of punk, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, but that's why I think that Kiss and Tell works, is they're not just doing rock for the sake of rock or synths for the sake of synths. It's just because it's a bit of like experimentation. It's trying to blend all these genres. It does work, and like I say, I know I sound disappointed in it, but I'm not good at that, but I do sound disappointed, but I'm honestly not. I think it's a great song.
What do you think the song is about lyrically or thematically? I've definitely seen a lot of different takes, and I have my own take. Just curious to throw that your way and see if you got anything out of the lyrics and the progression of the lyrics.
Yeah. This one is a bit like Rebel Girl to me, because I sort of assumed that Rebel Girl was about maybe trying to get back with someone, but it turns out it's really not about that. It's about being friend-zoned, isn't it? So,
well, I mean, I think the music video is one interpretation of it. That could also be a filmmaker like Matt Thompson's interpretation of it, or whoever wrote the music video. I think lyrically distilled to its core, Rebel Girl is about going back to a simpler time when things weren't as complicated, and basically being able to capture the innocence and elation of youth without all the complexities of adulthood. I mean, of course, that is boiled down to a very straightforward hook in the chorus. Like, do you want to go back to where we started, back before we were brokenhearted? Like, very, very direct. But even then, I don't feel like the song is a bait and switch. I feel like the music video was like a weird fringe interpretation of it. I feel like the song itself is definitely a nostalgic story about a simpler time. Conversely, for me, Kiss and Tell is kind of like a I don't know, a song that deals with the complexities of adulthood. Like, I feel there's a desperation and confusion and mania. I mean, I think it goes without saying in a lot of ways, Tom has gone through a lot in the past few years, professionally and otherwise, and that's going to be reflected in the songwriting, I think. And I think the song is a bit more mature. I know a lot of people sometimes don't like the cheesiness or sentimentality of Tom's songs, or at least the saccharine nature of some songs. Like, I know a lot of people didn't like the line, "The shoe fits my little Cinderella," and the kind of like
Yeah.
the cheesiness of it all. I personally like it because I think it works in a poppy sense. This song is devoid of any like cheesy, clever, hooks that are so proud of itself for rhyming or for, tapping into something that makes you go, aw. Like, it almost does make me again come back to Boxcar Racer in that there's a lot of emotional complexity to it in the lyrics. And like, personally, I'm going to withhold saying everything that I want to say because I think some of it dives into Tom's personal life, which I don't think it's entirely appropriate or necessary to discuss on the podcast. But put two and two together and read the lyrics, and I think you'll see how personal and how, sensitive the song is, I think.
Yeah, it's really difficult to explain it without actually saying it, isn't it?
Right, no.
Didn't he do an actual analysis on Instagram?
He did, actually. I can go ahead and read that right now. He said, again, from the man himself, not our interpretation of it. "This is a version of rock invading my punk world, a song about walking on the edge of a razor blade and pushing the boundaries to find happiness. I'm so excited to show you all the rest of this album. It is my best work, and the band is on fire right now. Have an awesome day."
How ambiguous is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this song does feel like sonically like you're standing on this precipice and looking into the abyss and just wondering what's going to happen if you take the jump. And that's part of the reason why I like this. I don't know if I'd say I like it more than Rebel Girl. I think Kiss and Tell is the better song, without a doubt. I think it's more interesting, more dynamic, more progressive, a musical evolution of what Tom's doing. It's even more sophisticated than Boxcar Racer. I personally enjoy listening to Rebel Girl more, and I'll probably over time listen to Rebel Girl more than I'll listen to Kiss and Tell. But I do think Kiss and Tell is just like, I would go as far as to say it's objectively the better song.
Okay, yeah. I understand that. Yeah, I get that. I almost forgot to mention as well, we got an Ilan Rubin drum solo in a song, finally.
Yeah, on the bridge.
Yes. It's fucking awesome.
So what do you think is going to be next for the band? Because we've gotten two very, very different singles. I would hazard to guess we're not going to get another song until next year. But do you think this album will continually be like every song will have a different vibe or style, kind of like the Dreamwalker, or are we going to start to see a pattern emerge the more singles we get?
I think there's already a pattern.
Okay.
Really, I think both songs do kind of sound like they belong to the same album, whereas I feel the Dreamwalker, you could really pick a song out of the Dreamwalker and it might not specifically sound like it's on a specific album.
Right.
These songs, though, yeah, I feel like they belong to a bigger sound. I don't know if we're going to get anything before New Year. It's hard to say without knowing how much they've done in the studio, because haven't they only done like half the album?
I think they've said half the album, but half to me is at least 5 songs. Like, I don't think they're going to do an album shorter than 10 songs. Now, whether those songs are totally finished and ready for mix, I mean, obviously 2 of them are, because we've already gotten 2 of them. I mean, I know Tom and Aaron like to sit on their songs a bit and let them evolve and revisit them sometimes with fresh ears. So maybe the songs that are there are like 90% laid out but not quite finished. I would hazard a guess that he needs to get back in the studio and do some more work and decide where he wants to go before he releases a new song. So if he does his movie in October, November, it's not going to be until January that he sits back down. Yeah, I don't know. I will say this, though. The transition from the end of Kiss and Tell into Rebel Girl works so well.
Oh, really?
Like on Spotify, if you listen to Kiss and Tell, the next song that plays is Rebel Girl. The transition feels like it belongs on the album. you know, because you have this like crazy outro with the drums and the gang vocals, and then there's like a 2-second break, and then the cymbal hits and it goes right into that Rebel Girl riff. It's a perfect like continuation of the energy, but also a shift in tone. Like I would suggest anyone to go listen to those songs back to back. It feels like they belong together. So before we move on from the Kiss and Tell segment, we're going to take a minute to play a few voicemails we got from you guys, both about Kiss and Tell and about the state of the band as they re-enter this tour, the first tour that they're going to have gone on in almost 7 years. I think there's a lot of thoughts and emotions going on in fandom, and we want the podcast to be a platform for that. And we'll definitely continue to solicit calls in the future once we narrow down discussion topics. But in the meantime, here are the voicemails we got for this episode.
Hey guys, so thanks for taking the time to listen to this. I'm not sure if it's what Tom intended, but it seems like a prequel to Rebel Girl, where the boy is thinking about his feelings for the girl prior to the night where all hell breaks loose. She makes him feel like a piece of dangling fruit that just wants to take off, break away, get lost in love, and just see where the universe takes them. He knows it's scary, but he wants to give it the benefit of the doubt, but she just won't give it a shot. He realizes he's drowning in love with her, and that it's probably not going anywhere, but at this point, he's in too deep and he just wants to fulfill that desire within him. As someone who's been stuck in the friend zone and forced to hinder his feelings many times in the past, because girls have just been too scared of commitment, this is definitely something that resonates with me.
Hi, calling in from Vienna, Austria. My name is Kai. If you want, you can find me under Mr_Schubi on Instagram. Go check me out. So, for me, Ava's new single, Kiss and Tell, sounds like it could have been ended up on Blink's Neighborhood record. And that's what I absolutely love about it. It's a blend of new Angels and Airwaves with all the synthesizers and space rock vibes, but also has a great punk rock sounding main riff. I really like it. It's really fun to play on guitar. Reminds me of good old times. And I also love the sound of Tom's voice in here. It's so crispy and tight. Really good production on the song. I have to say, it's really good. I'm looking forward to a new album.
All right, Kiss and Tell, the new single from Angels and Airwaves. Great song. I love how there's a defined infusion of sort of all the sounds from multiple eras of AVA, sounds from Blink, Tom bringing that sort of punk sound back into it. The guitar slides definitely remind me of sort of those anthemic sounds that we see from the Love era. And the first part of the intro, that synth part, definitely feeling Dreamwalker. It shows off what Alon Rubin's been bringing to the band. They've come back strong. They've come back well-defined. And it's great that such a strong song is leading us into this new era of AVA, because I think it really captures, everything from We Don't Need to Whisper to I Empire in terms of sound and vibe and feel. So yeah, it's super awesome.
Hey guys, my name is Felipe. I am a Brazilian Angels and Airwaves fan. I'm not sure if there are that many of us out there, but I do have kind of a cool story, I think. I actually like Angels a lot more than I like Blink. I'd put Angels maybe in my top 20 favorite bands. And I'd still like Blink, but I like the parts of them that sound like Angels, So as controversial as it may seem, my favorite Blink record is Neighborhoods. And I don't really care for anything before I take off your pants and jacket. It's weird, yeah. But, I did hear Blink first, obviously, but it was the AVA discography that I really dug into, and it's the one I fell in love with. What can I say? I'm really excited for the new era. I hope Tom keeps Angels going for a long time, because as we heard from the new singles, he's still kind of unbeatable when it comes to writing a memorable song, right? Cheers, guys. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Amber from Avondale, Arizona. I just wanted to send a message. It's been about a week since I got to see Angels and Airwaves for the first time, and it was amazing. Tom was on stage. He said after he played Surrender, he said singing a song like that with the crowd like this is it's fucking spiritual, and he is not wrong. I'm so glad he's feeling that this time. I think we all are. there's something. I mean, it's one thing to sit at home and listen to an album, or I'm sure for him to record it. But when you get to do that together, it's just this amazing, like, one of a kind thing. And when you're at an AVA show, like, everyone's there feeling it in some way. It's not, I just don't think there's much of a casual Angels and Airwaves fan. So it's kind of rad to be a part of. And the new songs, both of them are just incredible. I think the line from Kiss and Tell when he says, "Watch the bomb I made go off," is probably one of my favorite lines he's written in a long time. Because it's just it's so spot on for what he's doing right now. But yeah, it's good to see him out there having a good time. And it was really awesome. I'm going back to see them again in December. So thanks, guys.
Hey, my name is Donaleigh, and I saw Angels and Airwaves last night, September 10th, in Orlando. It was fantastic. Tom has never sounded better. I was blown away with his energy and the guitar playing and just how amazing his voice is. He is getting better with age. This concert was spectacular. It was everything I hoped it was going to be. I got there at 4 to try to get good seats, and I made amazing friends in the crowd, and I think it just really brought to life Tom's vision with this band and spreading positivity and curiosity and accepting others and just figuring out what life's about. And I'm still blown away with how nice everybody was and the conversations and how we all kind of bonded with loving the music and screaming it at the top of our lungs, and it was really great. My favorite parts were when he talked to Ilan, and I'll post that because it was really funny. And also when they closed with Heaven, that's of course one of my favorites. Who doesn't love Heaven? He had a great speech beforehand about being positive and growing with age and just making sure you live life to the fullest. And I got to see them on National Suicide Prevention Day, which is a big passion of mine, and it was a dream come true to see them particularly on this day. And I just bawled my eyes out when he sang "Please Stay, Don't Go." So whoever's listening, take the chance, go see your favorite bands, dance like crazy, think about the words, use that brain of yours, and please stay, don't go. And thank you guys for the podcast. I love it. Bye.
So thank you again to those who called in to share their thoughts on Angels and Airwaves and Kiss and Tell. I feel like we got a pretty good sample of opinions, also got some international callers in there, which is cool, so thank you for that. In Joe's message, he talked about the song in a thematic and lyrical sense, and I feel like Jay and Kai both broke down the production elements and the different influences from Love or Dreamwalker or otherwise. I definitely think these voicemails reinforce the fact that there's a lot to take away from the song. With Rebel Girl, it was a fun song, but it felt like it was very straightforward. With Kiss and Tell, everyone has their own story or interpretation, or everyone's able to latch on to a specific part of the song they resonate with. Someone else mentioned the lyric, "Watch the bomb go off." I like seeing that breadth of opinion and interpretation.
Yeah, I gotta say the lyrics are they feel a lot edgier than what they did with Rebel Girl. So
yeah,
I like that. I like that sort of interpretation of, watch the bomb go off. It does seem like it really captures Tom DeLonge at the moment.
There's just an interesting progression into much heavier material. I think for so long, Angels and Airwaves was the space rock band. All the synth sounded perfect and shiny and really anthemic, and it was rock, but it was very ethereal. You feel like you're in a stadium. There's so much echo and reverb, and the band has evolved to something a little more grittier. It keeps its space rock roots, but it's evolved into something more impressionistic and in your face and visceral. Whereas earlier on, Angels and Airwaves for 4 albums had its own niche that it stuck to pretty consistently.
Yeah, and there was nothing wrong with sticking to that niche, but I'm very, very happy that they're branching out and not even branching out. I think they're just modernizing themselves. I think they're just making themselves appeal more to a bigger public. The lyrics are edgy, the lyrics are modern now. He's not just trying to make things as clean as possible. It's all about how gritty they can get things sounding, or I kind of understand what they were going for with the Dreamwalker now. but I don't think they kind of pulled that off as well as what they did with this stuff.
I agree. I really like that the band still feels like it's keeping its roots. There's a certain album with Blink-182 that seems to have a split sentiment within the band that's like, oh yeah, that wasn't us. Like, that's not who we want to be.
Yeah.
Angels and Airwaves has been able to say, this is our past and this is our present, and we can be both at once. We can be like Boxcar Racer and we can be like Space to Rock. We can sing about victories and we can also sing about feeling vulnerable and feeling defeated, and the versatility that the band has shown. I mean, some of it's due to Ilan Rubin or Aaron Rubin or other people coming in and changing stuff up, but I still think Tom's at the wheel and he's deciding to take all these sharp left turns and weave through all these genres, and I think it's hopefully contributing to better live shows. I know that Donaleigh and Amber both went to shows and they were saying he's sounded better than ever. It's like a spiritual experience singing it, or having some of these specific moments, like when they play Heaven live or when Tom really just puts his soul out to bear on the stage. It resonates with people. People pick it up, and it is, he talks about it, but concerts do become this shared energy.
Yeah. I actually think you made a quite good point there. That is, even if it's Alen bringing something to the table, or Aaron, or Tom, or David, and hopefully Matt Rubano ends up bringing something to the table. Maybe that's why they've only done half the album. I'm glad it's still the Angels and Airwaves team, and not 17 external producers and songwriters.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Tom knows his limitations, but he also knows that he can overcome his limitations, and so he's even said, with Dreamwalker, it's not something where I had to give up control. I just had to hop in the passenger seat. I'm still calling out the directions, but someone else is taking the wheel and executing all these bizarre driving maneuvers, and it's a symbiosis of styles that keep their identity. So for the next podcast, we're going to be talking almost entirely about the tour. At the time we record the podcast, the tour, or at least the first leg of the tour, will be wrapped up. We're also going to have a few people on who have been to the shows. Myself and Steven have not and will not be able to go to any shows on this current. Yeah. For different reasons, neither of us will be attending shows. And so I think it's really important to have people call in, but also get people on the podcast to talk about their experiences and really dive into what these shows are like. Because I do feel like, I've watched a lot of the Love era or even I Empire live videos, and I do feel like this is an evolution for the band. I think their stage production and everything is, modernized is also a key takeaway, and it's going to feel a little different. So I want to hear what it was like from boots on the ground. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Fragments and Fictions. So for those of you who don't know, the Fragments and Fictions project is a multifaceted AVA Movement community project that includes a CD of covers or reimaginations of Tom's songs from Boxcar Racer, Blink, or Angels and Airwaves. The second part of it is a book that is being compiled and is going to be sent to Tom DeLonge himself. It's going to include written messages, maybe pictures of people's Angels and Airwaves tattoos or Blink-related tattoos, anything that fans have experienced or want to share with Tom, inspired by his artistic works. And it's being compiled and curated by Gianmarco, who runs the AVA Movement. We just wanted to give you a little update of where it's at right now. We've released a couple songs from the album onto YouTube, but the CD has not been released in full yet. So on the CD side of things, the CDs are done and printed, and it's in our hands. The book is kind of what's holding up the whole project. It's taken longer than expected to complete, but it should be ready. Should be ready to send a physical copy to Tom by the time he gets home from this round of touring, so about early mid-October. But once we print the book with the fundings raised from the community, we're going to donate any of the excess money we have to Feeding San Diego. That's a charity that Tom has been supportive of and involved with in the past. There's even some old posts on Instagram of him giving his time to work for the cause. And the whole thing will be released online for free at the end of the day, both the album and the songs, and then the book itself for people to maybe see what they contributed to the book and also see what others had to say and what others want to share. There will also be some contests and giveaways for people to have a chance to get their hands on some of the physical CDs. That's going to be, a little bit down the line, but we just wanted to share this with you just so that we're still working on it, we're still thinking about it, and that will be coming out in full at some point soon.
Yeah, I love this idea. I think this hasn't ever been done before. Well, I can't imagine it ever being done before. I think it's a great idea that they brought up, and I love that so many people got in contact. I know there was a lot of people sending in submissions. There was a lot of song submissions as well. That just shows you how many people really, really wanted to be involved in this, and I'm excited to see if Tom has anything to say about it, because I don't think he knows how much he's appreciated by his community, and it would be really, really nice to show him that.
I think it's also cool because Angels and Airwaves at its core is not just a band, but really an art project that has, a lot of collaborators, that works across different mediums, that sometimes will curate art that they didn't create or get other artists to come and contribute. And what I think the goal has always been is to have AVA Movement be a reflection of that, for this community to also create and share and curate art and pour their heart and creativity into something that's inspired by the band and that shares a kind of spiritual purpose with the band. I think that's especially shown in the CD. There's a lot of different styles, a lot of different artists, a lot of different sounds, a lot of different genres and reimaginings of existing songs, and when it's released in full, it'll be such a great moment for the community and for the band itself to realize just how many people think about these songs and just how deeply so much of the Angels and Airwaves content has resonated with people to the point that they're going to take time and take weekends off to record music and to be a part of a group project for AVA Movement. It is really, in the truest sense of a word, a movement.
Yep, agreed.
So before we sign off, I just want to quickly introduce a new Fragments and Fictions track that we're going to be debuting right now. It's by Brother and Wolf, and it is a cover / reimagining of Heaven from I Empire. I'm very excited to see people put their stamp on songs like this. And again, if you haven't, there are some songs that are out. Go ahead and listen to those. I think you'll be very impressed. But right now, Steve and I are going to go ahead and sign off, and we're going to roll the song for you.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. My name is Stephen Christie.
And I'm Adam Barnard.
And we'll see you next time.
Negative return will be must be just like this.
Looks good. Your display. That is it. Okay, you may open your visors. Pseudo too often. Open your visors if you want. Open your visors